Live from America's heartland, this is the Daily Truth Report with your host, Noah Christopher.
Welcome back to the Daily Truth Report. And back with us tonight is our good friend, Bo Polny, the analyst of time. And oh boy, do we have a lot to talk about. But first, let me just say, Bo, welcome back to the show.
Well, all I got to say is thanks for having me. I really appreciate speaking with you. Actually, I've gone to a few tours, or like when I went to the Reawaken tour just past May, and I get so many comments from people. Noah, I got to tell you this, they're like, you know what? I really love when you're on with Noah. Noah's like so fun to listen to. And the two of you guys really get along great, when you talk. So I just wanted to pass that message on to you. That was a handful of people said that actually in May.
Oh, that's awesome. Thank you so much. And likewise, I get a lot of people coming up to me and saying, have Bo back on again because we just love it. So I'm glad that translates because I love every time we have you on the show. It's like I get the front row seat and I just have so much fun chatting with you. And then, all of a sudden we look up and an hour's gone by and it's time to wrap things up. So I'm glad that translates and people are enjoying it as much as I am. And so I'm excited for everybody to see what you've got for us. You've got a lot in the political realm and then a lot in the crypto realm. And we were just talking right before we hit record on this. And I mentioned to you, and you didn't even know this because you're busy doing your work, which I love because your work is not influenced by the news or the news cycles. You do your analysis of time, and then it's so funny when that syncs up to the news. So I said to you before we started recording, I said, "Hey, what do you think about these two new SEC cases? Gary Gensler suing Coinbase yesterday and suing Binance today," and you were like, "I haven't even heard about that. That matches up perfectly with my cycle." So I want to talk about all of that, but let me just. Let me get out of the way. Let me get your slides up on the screen and just I'll let you take us wherever you want to go on this. Where should we start?
Page one is great. And again, like what you said about the filings, right? It's fascinating because what have I always written and spoke about, right? Cycles precede events. So it doesn't matter what the event is because the cycle's already there. We just don't see it. I know it sounds crazy, but that's how the world works because God wrote the what? The end from the beginning. Don't believe me? We've talked about this in how many podcasts, right? Daniel 2 prophecy. It's a 2,500-year-old prophecy that is probably the longest standing prophecy in the history of the world. Why? Because God gave Daniel the interpretation of Nebuchadnezzar's dream 2,500 years ago, which raised Daniel to the second in command of all the world. Basically, he only had to answer to Nebuchadnezzar after the interpretation of that dream. And that every piece of that dream, every piece of it stands to today. Babylon still stands, but we've seen every single kingdom rise and fall. From Babylon, Persia, Greece, we've seen every single kingdom rise and fall. And all that's missing is what's on page 18 right there. The fall of Babylon. And this is the best place to start, right? Read what it says right there. It says, while you, meaning us, while you were watching. So we get to see the fall of Babylon in our lifetime. Forget in our lifetime, like this year. So you read Daniel 2, this is a prophecy of 2,500 years, and all that's missing is the last piece, Daniel 2, verse 34. And while you, meaning us, were watching, a stone carved out by, here it is, important, no human hand. Means what? God does it, and God gets the glory. So what's about to happen is going to be biblical. The world's going to know whatever this event is or events are. It doesn't matter. It's going to be so mind-boggling that the world will know that God intervened in our world and changed the destination, the direction this world is headed. Because why? God loves his creation. And the point I'm trying to make is the end was written from the beginning. And that's why we can look at cycles and know that the cycle is already written. We just don't know the events. And so we're watching. Like right now, we started this podcast. You're telling me that of the two lawsuits that were filed against Coinbase and
Binance US.
And Binance, right? And I had no idea. But all I'm looking at is like, that's incredible how that's right in the cycle pattern. And it's very interesting. But those that watch the price movement of Bitcoin today, what a joke, right? It went down on the news only to come right back up into the end of the day, making the event, these two lawsuits, a nothing burger. But that's in the cycle already. It was in the cycle. So anyway, I want to start there. And what an exciting world we live in.
Yeah, that's great. And I should say, and we'll talk about those cycles here in just a little bit. Bo has some updated charts and he's actually got an updated alert going out to his subscribers probably right about the time this will post. And so there's a lot more in the cycles. We'll explain to you exactly what Bo's seen and how this lines up perfectly. And I should say, I always like to say when we're recording this, because when you've got the analyst of time on, you got to say what day it is. So it's June 6th, 2023. And Bo has been telling us the last couple of times he was on that June is going to be a hot month. Watch out for June. It's all going down in June. And so having him on the first week in June just seemed like the right time. So but we jumped right to slide 18. Maybe I should go back a bit and take us through wherever else we need to go.
Well, again, those who have watched our podcast for the past few months now, like I'm probably, probably since March, wasn't it? Maybe February. What have we been saying? The end of June is a critical time point. We're waiting for historic things to manifest, and we've seen some really incredible things happen already. Okay, just like the FBI whistleblowers, right? They just happened to go in to Congress and speak specifically on a very important day biblically, on Ascension, the actual day that Jesus Christ rose. He rose from the dead. 40 days later, he ascends to heaven. And on that exact day, you got three Father, Son, the Trinity, right? Whistleblowers sitting before Congress testifying about what's going on with what the FBI has been doing. So you're seeing these very important events happen in our world on specific biblical time points or feasts or time points. June 25 is a very, very important time point. And we've been talking about that time point since I think February or March of this year. And it's interesting from when Tucker released those tapes on J6, right? So the tapes that when he released on Purim, you do the math to June 25. It's not just fun math, but it's 111. So triple ones, 111 days. Does it mean anything? I don't know. It's just fun to do the math. But what I'm trying to illustrate is this time point into the end of June is incredibly important. And we've talked about this time over and over again. So something is expected to manifest. So those who want this PDF presentation, again, you can take it from here, Noah, but slide 2, you can scan the QR code. Go ahead, Noah.
Yeah, you bet. And I'll put the links down below the video like we always do. So you can click on it, or you just point your camera right at that and grab the slides. I know so many people that just keep a file on their computer and save all these in there because there's a lot to go back and read, and then you can go back in time and check and see kind of how they're coming along. And plus they're just, I don't know who does better slides than Bo. These are so cool to look at. So go ahead and grab that. It's totally free. And I always love, Bo usually comes on this show and spends an hour with us, and I don't pay him to come on this show. He comes on for free and he chats and gives all this away. So really appreciate that, Bo, all the work you put into this. And like you said, when people come up to you, it's paying off, but really appreciate all you do.
Thank you. No, I appreciate it too. I love doing it. God's allowed me the time to be able to put this together. And it's just kind of like one of these things where when I get a message or I hear something, or usually it's the nighttime I wake up and I get like a little piece. I'm like, oh, then I just go like a date or a number or a scripture. I pull it up and then I take screenshots of it at nighttime. I go back to bed and then I wake up in the morning, start working on it. And then I get this massive revelation sometimes. I'm like, wow, that's crazy. How this all, adds into what we've been talking about. And so it's very interesting. But again, when you read Matthew 16, right, it's very clear. It says, we are to discern the time, the sign of the times. We are to discern it, right? So that's what I'm doing. I'm doing it. I'm trying to discern where we are in end times. And and so, yeah, we are in end times, but we're not in tribulation. I want to repeat that. We're not in tribulation. We're in the beginning of the end. So as the year 2020 began, the world as we know changed forever, right? Corona. Yep. You can only say the world has never been the same since Corona, period. Okay. Everything we know changed. And why? Because it talks about, when the seals of Revelation began to open, right? So when the 4 horsemen began to ride, so the first seal or the first horseman began riding, but when the first seal manifests or opens, the world as you know will never be the same. And therefore you had the events triggering in January with Corona, and now we're at the 3.5-year mark. Is that important? Oh boy, is it important with regards to where we are. Now, what's interesting on this next slide here, page 3 and page 4, basically what does it talk about? It says, when you read Proverbs 16, verse 18, it says, pride goes before destruction. That's interesting.
Right.
It's just coincidentally that you got an entire month of pride celebrations. And I gotta actually, it's very interesting driving home, and I scrolling through YouTube. I don't know if you saw this, but the prime minister of Italy, she's like the only one the left hates her, right? But she actually said, "Ah, we're not going to do Pride Month." And she calling it Pride Family Month, and they're freaking out. The left is freaking out because of what she's saying, right? And so I got to compliment, think about it, how awesome that is. She stood up
Yes.
to the people of this world, to the evil cabal of this world, and literally said, we're not calling it gay pride month. So you gotta give her kudos on that one.
That
Wow,
is
that's amazing.
that is great.
So interesting. So June is a very important month. June is the month that the angel showed up to Mary, and told Mary she's going to, if it's in Matthew, I believe, is where it's in Matthew, Matthew 1. It says, in the 6th month of Elizabeth's pregnancy, the God sent the angel of Gabriel to Nazareth in the town of Jubilee to a virgin pledged to be married to a man named Joseph, a descendant of David. The virgin's name was Mary. So this happened in the month, the 6th, right? So I mean the 6th month, which is here, June. It's interesting also what happened. Noah, what happened last June? Roe
Oh,
v.
yes. Yeah.
Wade
Yes, that was your 50 year.
overturned.
Yes.
Okay, so that happened last year. So this June 24th is 1 year for the overturning of Roe v. Wade. And again, this is a biblical year. This is the 50th year. So something potentially could go down here as we head into the 24th of June, and that just happens to be one day before the calculated date of June 25.
That's right. You've been really watching those 24s. Those have been big every month.
Very big. I'm just saying a lot of these very important things are manifesting on specific dates that are in the Bible. And so June is incredibly important with regards to time, because if you think about it, a day is like 1,000 years. That's biblical. But at the same time, God created everything, did he not?
Mm-hmm.
And he finished creating things on the what day? The 6th day. Because what did he do on the 7th day?
Rested.
He rested. Which means that something is expected, I would expect, to happen in the 6th month. Because what happens in the 6th month, you can never turn, when God intervenes, when the glory of God manifests on earth, it'll be a 24-hour window that changes the direction, the trajectory, the railroad tracks that the world is on. Get it? So when this event goes down, it changes the direction the world is headed. It's an event that'll change everything as we know it. No different than what happened at the Red Sea. Think about that. When that Red Sea closed, there was no one chasing Israel anymore. Pharaoh was finished. His army was destroyed. So we're stepping into a moment in time where everything that we know to be the truth suddenly changes. Just like this FCC thing, they're pushing their weight, and they're trying to file these, they file these 2 lawsuits on these 2 big crypto companies. And why? Because they're trying to protect the one thing that they've used to enslave and control humanity. What is it, Noah?
Yeah, the
The
dollar.
US dollar, right?
Yep.
And so they cannot let they can't let Bitcoin go to 100,000. They can't let Bitcoin go to 70,000. They can't let Bitcoin go to 50,000. They fought like crazy to keep it down from 67,000 from last year, and they're fighting to not let it go up. If Bitcoin was at $100,000, an example, if silver was at $100, guess what the dollar's worth? It's worthless. Get it? See, so they're doing everything. So they've got the silver gold thing handled, right? They use derivative contracts, and they've been using this for, decades already. So these derivative contracts, they can control the price of silver. They'll control it for the next 100 years if God doesn't intervene. Okay. Why? Because they have to support the value of their fake fiat money. Because the day the dollar crashes is a day that Babylon falls. The day the dollar crashes is a day that Bitcoin explodes. It's a day that silver and gold explode. You see, they're polar opposites. And so they're fighting tooth and nail. They'll file lawsuits. They'll do everything to keep cryptocurrencies from going up in value, because they're doing everything they can to do what? support the value of a fake fiat money system.
And you've been telling us that for a couple of years now, that the dollar's going down and Bitcoin is going to break out, and other cryptos too. And it really feels like we're just on that last little domino before it all breaks out, at least to me.
Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely. We're so close to this going down. So let's get into some time calculations. But before we do that, one of our videos, we talked about Mayday, Mayday, Mayday. Okay.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so interestingly enough, I'm like, what, because I know several prophets actually prophesied the word Mayday, Mayday. I know it was Hank Kuhneman. I forget, it's two or three prophets mentioned Mayday, Mayday, only to find out, like, wait a second. The flag flew upside down. And when that happens, it doesn't matter I don't even know how it happened, whether someone put it intentionally or whether a clip broke off. It doesn't matter. It's irrelevant. This has never happened before. Go back,
Yes.
go back 100 years. Have you seen a flag upside down at the Capitol? No. But it happened to happen on May Day in May, causing May. When a flag of a nation flies upside down, it's a nation in distress.
Yeah, that's
Mayday,
right.
Mayday, Mayday. So we got our Mayday, Mayday moment that we were talking about. We didn't know what it was. Now we know. How crazy, how great is our God? How amazing is all of this?
Yeah, that was incredible. I remember when that happened, and I didn't make the connection in my head, but we covered that story, and it sure was very strange. And you're right. Of course, they have an immediate story for it, but that, whether that's
But
true
it
or
happened.
not, it doesn't
But
matter. It happened.
It happened. That's
Yeah.
right. But it happened.
Well,
And
that's
flag
great.
upside down at the Capitol is a nation in distress. So it happened. Doesn't matter how it happened. And it was just a coincidence, right, Noah?
Yeah, right. Always.
Always. There are always coincidences. But when God's involved, you have coincidence after coincidence after coincidence. Why? Because it's by design.
Yeah.
It's by design.
Hey, here's one more that we skipped over, but I love this one too. This is also something we had covered, and then I saw it in your slides here. But for the people that don't know, this is so cool. And I'll let you talk about it here a little bit, but we covered this maybe a week ago. But the rainbow, the rainbow's been overtaken by this Pride Month and all this stuff, and then Christians think they can't use it, but that's not the case. It's a counterfeit version of the rainbow. God's rainbow has 7 colors in it, and then the counterfeit has 6. And I don't think most people know that, but it's true. You want to talk about that for a minute?
Yeah, all I can say is that the flag that they use is not the rainbow. Okay, the rainbow has 7 colors. You can Google this. This is a factual statement. They removed the blue, which is the point number, the blue number 5.
Yeah, right.
Number 5. So that was removed, and so what they're portraying is not a rainbow. It's a symbol. It's it's everything say Satan does. You'll notice the number 6. Like, how far are we supposed to stand apart? 6 feet.
Yep.
Right. It's just everything they use is a symbol of a number 6, and that's what we're seeing. That's why they chose that color. That's why they removed 1. And so again, yes, they're not using. This is not a rainbow. It's a symbol.
Yeah, that's great. And I just think that's so cool that we don't have to shy away from it. The rainbow was created by God, and it's still His, and the real rainbow has 7 colors in it. So just a little something cool for everyone to remember from this interview. That I think that's just great. So thanks for putting that in your slides there.
Sure, absolutely. And then, from there we can scroll into the importance. So now we're talking about the summer solstice. So we've mentioned this before, page 7. Interesting, page 7. But Trump on the summer solstice will be 77 years old and 7 days, precisely on June 21, the summer solstice. So we have some critical time points coming up here. We're in June. We know that we've talked about this, how critically important the time window between June 21 into June 25 is. And then interesting, but June 24, the day before the 25th, is also exactly 1 year from the overturning of Roe v. Wade. So we got this critically important time point that we're heading into. So something is about to blow. And again, we've talked about pride. Pride cometh before destruction. We know that if God's going to do something, it would most likely be no later than the 6th month, because He rests in the 7th. Right. So something potentially is supposed to go down in this month here before the month of rest, which is coming in July. We've talked about, page 8 and 9, how the world is completely captured. We've talked about Mystery Babylon. We've talked about the Khazarian Mafia. But basically, in everything we know about the world, these are the puppet masters. They pull strings. They work in the shadows. So these people lie because who's Satan? He kills, steals, destroys. He's a liar. He's a cheater. He's a thief. That's who you're dealing with, right? And so everything out of there's these people's mouth, the ones that work for Satan, because there are people on this earth that have let evil into their hearts, and they work for the synagogue of Satan. They work for Satan. It's in the Bible. It's scriptural. And Revelation 2, verse 9, God actually says, they're not Jews because their synagogue belongs to Satan, but they call themselves Jews, right? So the whole world, and then that bloodline, the family, you can trace it back to creation. And all of this is biblical, biblical, biblical. We battle not against flesh and blood, but principalities of darkness. Principalities are governments, right? People don't want war. Governments do. Why? Why do governments want war? Because they're controlled by evil.
Mm-hmm.
Period. So guess what? We're going to have a war potentially this month of June. Short-lived. I'm telling you, there's a high probability of a war conflict, not a nuclear one, not World War III, but a short-lived military, scary conflict that's potentially could go down this month of June, latest July. But something is about to manifest. The next slide on page 11, this video I watched this weekend, and this Andrew Snelling did an incredible job on basically just explaining so beautifully how the rock layers and fossils completely disprove evolution. It's incredible. It's truly fascinating. It's totally worth watching this video. And again, why? Because, why would they lie to us about everything? Well, because who's Satan, right? He's the prince of the power of the air, right? So they use media, books, and the spoken word, everything. They use that to lie to us. So we've been lied to. Everything's a lie. When this great awakening happens, okay, we're gonna find out that everything was a lie. The whole world, we've been lied to. This is a 6,000-year story. This is a 6,000-year story. We've talked about this in how many presentations? There's also even the web bot on page 11 called the same thing out too. This is a 6,000-year story. Right? This is a 6,000-year story for the what? For the Battle of Israel. For the Battle of Israel, you got Obama, who literally said, what did Obama say? He goes, "A promised land." He wrote a book called A Promised Land, but it's the Promised Land, right? And so this is a battle for Israel, because this is where it started in Israel, and it's going to go back to Israel. This is a 6,000-year battle. Page 13, same thing. Page 13 describes all the presidents. They're all bloodlines, except for they're all bloodline to King John of England, except for Trump and Van Buren. Like, this is crazy, but this is real. Okay, this is just demonic, satanic activity, and we're seeing incredible stuff now because they're not scared anymore. See, so since 45 came into office, they're not afraid of anything anymore. So now they're just like, they're talking, they're just pride all over the place. They're not afraid of anything. They control everything. Everything is captured.
They think they've won.
Yes. Well, so did Pharaoh. So did they when they killed Jesus. It actually looked like they won. When Jesus when he was dead and he died on the cross and he's in the tomb, didn't it look like evil won? Think about it.
Yeah.
Think about that moment in time. Jesus, who you knew was a son of God, who those that were walking with him knew he was a son of God. The miracles, the wonders, the signs and wonders that they were witnessing with their own eyes, you knew that was God. And then when he died on the cross, you got to admit, if you were there and you didn't know, you'd think evil won. But how beautiful is our God, right? How amazing is our God? It looked like evil won, but evil walked right into God's trap. Like, you gotta laugh how stupid evil is. They killed Jesus on the stupidest day they could have ever picked, because the most important day for Christianity is Passover, because Jesus became the Passover lamb. Evil was so arrogant and prideful, they literally weren't watching and they walked right in to God's trap.
I love it.
No different than Pharaoh. Think about it. Pharaoh knew he didn't part that Red Sea. It wasn't him. He knew he didn't do it. But yet, out of arrogance, he walked into that Red Sea.
Yeah.
Talk about stupid. Like, you got to admit, you got to say, talk about stupid, right? Evil Pharaoh walked right into the Red Sea, and he brought his whole army with him. Like, talk about moronic, but he did it. And next thing you know, God had a bigger plan, and he destroyed Pharaoh.
I don't
And
think I've
so
ever
what's
thought
going
about
on?
it that way.
I want to finish I want to finish with this: is what's going in our world, what's going on in our world right now, Noah. As ugly, as scary as it looks, and it's going to get worse because the war is, I think, about to break out. As ugly, as scary as it looks, as things look right now, and are going to get worse yet. Just know this one thing: evil is walking right into God's trap.
That is so good, Bo. I really have never thought about that. We've all heard that story so many times, and we've talked about it a lot these past 2 years about a Red Sea moment. But I have never thought, as when Pharaoh gets there, he sees something that no one in history has ever seen: water up on both sides, the sea
Yep.
totally parted.
Yep.
What level of arrogance would it take to walk into that?
Talk about stupid.
And what you're saying is that's what's playing out right now, a level of arrogance. They think they've won, they think it's over, they think that they can't possibly lose, and it's just going to be a wipeout coming because pride comes before destruction. And that that you can take that on a couple different levels. That's absolutely incredible, Bo. Wow.
Thank you. You laid it out beautifully, because I couldn't have said it better myself. That's exactly how this is going to play out. Now, we don't know the exact day it's going to happen. We don't know the exact event or events and how God's going to strike. Okay, just like we didn't know what the Mayday event was going to be, right? But now we know, right? So we don't know the exact day now, or we don't know the exact event or events. But I'm telling you, we're doing the math calculations, and everything's screaming that, the time calculations are screaming that we're here. That we're here. This is June. Okay, it's something's about to go down that's going to be biblical, that the world will not be able to explain. And that takes me to the next slide. Maybe shoot over to page 23, because something's about to happen here, and it's biblical. So where is that? What could happen? Well, page 22 talks about the fall of the harlot. Okay, so it's the mortal wound, the fall of the harlot. And then page 23 takes that further, and the mortal wound is written in Revelation 13. It actually talks about the mortal wound. And then two prophets, Kent Christmas and Hank Kuhnman, both brought up the mortal wound. Actually, it's interesting because when they brought the mortal wound up, it was a week or two after I did, and I spoke about the mortal wound back in, I believe it was in early May, or in May, or I believe it was in April. That I spoke about the mortal wound, and then a week later, Kent Christmas talks about it, and then 2 weeks later, it was Hank Kuhnman brought it up as well too. So all I'm saying is that something's about to happen, and mortal means dead. Okay, the definition of mortal is dead, which means that something's about to kill evil, period. Now, we've talked about this as well too on page 24. How many times have we read this on your show? Isaiah 61. Mm-hmm. I love this scripture, my favorite scripture. Why? Because I think it's so eloquently stated of what how he does this, right? It's going to do the year of the Lord's favor, and that's this year. But what was never read was the day of vengeance. Mm-hmm. So the day of vengeance is so that would be the Daniel 2 verse 34, a stone carved out by no human hand, meaning God does this. So the day of vengeance, because what does God say? Vengeance is mine, saith the Lord. So God's going to strike evil and give evil what? Page 23, a mortal wound. And he's going to destroy evil. Get it? So what you're seeing is the fall of Mystery Babylon is equivalent to the same scripture as the mortal wound. Is Isaiah 61, the day of vengeance, is the great wealth transfer. You see how all of these scriptures are all pointing to the same events. Now, yes. This is fun. Page 25. I showed you this earlier before the show. What's about to happen? The destruction of what? Evil. Evil's going to get evil. The devil's going to get a mortal wound, right?
Yeah.
So that's what's written. We talked about the mortal wound. So the devil or evil gets a mortal wound. So we know it happens. Well, I know it happens this year, 2023. So I'm like, okay, well, let's have a little fun this week. And so this weekend I had a little free time. So I took 2023 and I took Genesis 6, verse 3. And it says, then the Lord said, my spirit shall not abide in man forever, for he is flesh. His days shall be 120 years. Like, oh, well, let's take back 120 years from this year, 2023. And guess what year you get to? 1903. That sounds familiar. Didn't something like important happen in 1903? So I Googled. I'm like, hey, the Wright brothers' first flight. That's interesting. So I read the scripture, I read about it. And the first line that comes up, here it is. On the morning of December 17th, 1903, so the Wright brothers took turns piloting and monitoring their flight machine in what's going to be killed? The devil. In Kill Devil Hills.
What a name.
What a name. North Carolina. And guess what? It was a 12-second flight that went, what? 120 feet? Huh. Like, all I'm saying is, wow.
You gotta
it's
love
just
it.
fun. You gotta I don't know the coincidence and the probability of this event happening on Kill Devil Hills, and it flew 120 feet in 12 seconds. It's just, that was the first line I read. I'm like, okay, wow. So it was fun. This is just fun to look at, but you got to admit, there are no coincidences. Why would that hill be Kill Devil Hill?
Right. Oh, that's great.
So, anyways, I just
Love
thought
it.
I would bring it up for a little fun, but it's a little more than a coincidence. It's all I can say. There's just not the fact that hill was called Kill Devil, and we're literally talking about the destruction of evil getting a mortal wound, evil
Perfect.
being killed, the devil being killed. So, so there you go. On page 26. So let's talk about, let's talk about June. Let's talk about the timing of this. Okay. So we've talked about this in the prior interview, but Daniel 12, verse 7, it says, it will be. This is so critical because you got to ask the question, what is it? Right? What's it? Well, if you replace that word it with evil, right? Evil will be for a time, which is a year, times, which is 2 years, and a half a time, which is a half a year. So 3.5 years or 1,260 days. So that's what Daniel 12, verse 7 says. Okay, well, that's interesting. So let's go to the next slide, page 27. Well, let's look at it. So if evil will be for 3.5 years, well, when did evil start? When did the world we know change forever, Noah? What month? What year?
2020.
January.
Yep.
Bingo. So let's take 3.5 years. Oh my goodness. June 2023. Now. We are at the end of evil, where evil is about to receive a mortal wound. Evil is about to be killed. Kill Hill. Fascinating, but the math is perfect.
And as usual, Bo, when you come on, it's not just one thing you've calculated. It starts to be multiple things, and they all start pointing to the same time, in this case, which is June 2023.
Yes, exactly. There's a 45-day window, which takes us into August 9th. And then August 9th forward takes us for the next 3.5 years forward. So from great darkness or from great evil comes great light, comes great glory. So you go down to go high. That's biblical. So we're about to see cures for cancer. We're about to have the great wealth transfer. We're about to get free homes. We're about to get free land. The days of struggle are about to come to an end. We're about to have free auditoriums for the worship of Jesus Christ. We're about to get free churches for the worship of Jesus Christ. We're about to have the next 3.5 years are going to be the most biblical 3.5 years the world has ever imagined. So that's what's coming. Page 28. Go ahead.
Can I ask you about that for a minute? People that read my website probably know I'm not a big believer or fan in this Gesara stuff, but what you're describing there kind of sounds a lot like that. Do you attribute a lot of that to this wealth transfer, and then people, the people who have prepared, they go out and they provide for these type of things, or how do you see that playing out? All that stuff you just went over.
So that directly ties in with QFS, quantum financial system.
Mm.
And so the QFS, the quantum financial system, is one big lie.
Mm.
Nisara Jasara, one big lie.
Okay.
It has nothing that is not biblical, not scriptural. It's man-made to always give you that feeling of, oh, don't worry about it. It's all going to be, all going to be fine. The free land, the free homes is not coming to everybody. It's coming to the church. Okay. It's coming to the bride. Okay. Not everybody's going to get this stuff because many people didn't prepare. Many people in the church, the people that love Christ, many of them prepared. Okay. And then there's going to be ones like the evil bankers. They prepare too with precious metals, but God's going to use their own laws against them to rip and strip away all their precious metals. So the JP Morgans, all the banking institutions that have all the silver and the gold, guess what? They lose it all. So they don't get free land. They lose it all. That where do you think the free land is going to come from? Where do you think the free homes are going to come from? Right. So the
Okay.
world we know is going to flip. The Great Reset is what they're pushing for, only to find out when God intervenes, you got the Great Awakening.
I love it.
The Great Reset is something that that they're trying to push, and that's where you can we can stick all of these people words of whatever the Sar just are. Google that, okay? That's in the those are events described made up by man. They're talking about some crazy bonds, some Chinese bonds, and all the stuff that's tied with. Like,
Right.
come on. Here's the problem with that, and I'll give you some very specific reason. I'm glad you asked that question. I'll give you one specific reason why all that's a big lie.
Mm-hmm.
Period. Why is it a big lie? Because if what they're describing happens, then the world heads into 1,000 year, because that would basically mean that we're heading into 1,000 years of peace, aren't we? Everything's fixed.
Right. Right.
Everything's fixed. But what did I just go back to the entire past half an hour we spoke, right?
Mm-hmm.
What did we say? This is the mortal wound. You see, people, evil is a liar. Satan is a liar. And he creates lie after lie after lie, and he suckers you in to believe the lies. And
Mm-hmm.
people just want hope. So they start to believe some of these crazy lies. There's
Right.
people out there that are preaching Nasara Jasara, it's all going to happen. People, these are lies.
Oh,
They might be doing it
straight.
intentionally to lie to you, or they might actually believe the lie. So you don't know. Who knows? But I'm telling you, it's not scriptural, it's not biblical. But let me explain to you why. Because what's about to happen is the mortal wound. We're not heading into 1,000 year of peace, because all of these money projects and everything they're talking about would be basically evil's gone, right? Evil's gone. And now everybody gets these incredible wealth to do all these incredible things with. Let me tell you, evil is going to be destroyed. Many are, and the rest are going to go into hiding. But let's actually answer that question with scripture. So let's go back to the mortal wound slide on page 23. What does it say? Let's read Revelation 13, 11 through 12. And this will answer your Nasara Jastara question.
Mm.
Then I saw another beast rise out of the earth. It had two horns like a lamb. It spoke like a dragon. It exercised all the authority of the first beast. You see, so what you're watching in this world right now is the first beast. It's Mystery Babylon. It makes the earth and its inhabitants worship the first beast, whose mortal wound was healed. So the beast, so what you're seeing is this Mystery Babylon will come back to life.
Mm-hmm.
So how does Nasara Jasara fit into that? It doesn't.
Right. Okay.
It doesn't. So we're not heading into 1,000 years of peace. It's not mathematically possible. Those who have watched, we can talk, it's later in my slide deck, we may not have time to get to it, but it's not mathematically possible, because evil comes back. And then when evil comes back, it's the beast system. But when evil returns, it returns with no gold, no silver,
Mm-hmm.
no precious metals, and all they're going to have is digital money, fake digital money. Because the church gets all the gold and gets all the silver. The church will be a well-funded bride to be. The church will have all the finances that it will ever need. And when it has all the finances it ever needs, we'll be blessed to be a blessing to all those around us. And then when you have everything you need, what do? You worship. You spend the time with God. Because what did Pharaoh tell Moses to say? What did God tell Moses to tell Pharaoh? Let my people go so they can come into the wilderness and do what? Worship me. See, all God wants is for us to go worship him. But evil set up a world. Satan has set up a world where we always are chasing finance and money. So there's little to no time to worship. That's the world we live in. And that's about to come to an end really, really soon. So let's shoot over to page 28 and let's continue with some time calculations. So on page 28, what do we talk about? So you remember that time when oil went to zero, negative $38 a barrel? That was like, like I said, hey, like in the next couple of months, something crazy going to happen on the 20th of April, 2020. And next thing you know, oil goes to negative $30 a barrel. And why did I know that? Because I was using it right above there. It's, the 1,260-day calculation. Well, 1,260 days backwards of that date was that was, let me see, what April 20th. Yeah, sorry. So from April 20th of 2020 backwards was the exact day Trump got elected. So from the day Trump got elected, I knew that something crazy or very powerful was going to happen at day 1260. And that ended up being the day oil goes to zero. And then interesting, from that exact day, April 20th, you go 888 days forward, triple eights, which you can't get a more powerful number. And that ends up landing on exactly Rosh Hashanah, September 25. Are you kidding me? How does that happen?
Wow.
To start the 50th year Jubilee.
Mm-hmm.
It started a 50-year Jubilee. Now, this gets even more powerful, page 29. Okay, so Noah, how long is childbirth? 9 months, right?
Mm-hmm.
So from September 25, 9 months takes us to what day? Exactly, June 25.
Same one, once again. Yeah, same thing.
Exact same day. And then Matthew talks about in Matthew 24, you will hear of wars and rumors of wars, but see to it that you are not alarmed. Such things must happen. But the end is still to come. So this is not the end. These are, here it is. These are the beginnings of birth pains. So when one falls, another is born. Mystery Babylon. Babylon, Babylon, the great has fallen. Babylon is expected to fall by the hand of God this month, June, into month end. Something big's about to happen. And then that leads us into the birth of God's kingdom. So we're in a month of suddenlies. June's going to be many suddenlies. July, suddenlies. There's all kinds of suddenlies. Many things are going to start to manifest here because we're at birth of a new era. Now, page 30, we've talked about this as well, too. But this correlates perfectly, again, to the 25 day, because if you Google the first confirmed case of COVID that was outside of China was precisely January 12th. 1,260 days is exactly June 25. So that's on page 30. So everything we're looking at is just pointing to the end of June, and then page 31. That cycle of Daniel 12, verse 7, page 31, if you can click on that, page 31 confirms the prophetic word of Kim Clement, where he talks about summer will be the mediator between spring and fall. Well, look at the pattern. 3.5 years from Corona takes us into the summer solstice, which then leads us into summer as the mediator between spring and fall, so that the fall can do its work in America. And that's the start of the glory. So the glory on earth begins in August 9th and goes for the next 3.5 years forward. Incredible things are about to manifest on this earth. So then page 35 takes us into July. And actually before that, page 34, also, again, we're talking from Pentecost, 25 days takes us to precisely the summer solstice. So I'm just saying another math calculation from Pentecost that was in May, 25 days from when it took 18 days for Israel to get to the Red Sea. They camped at the Red Sea for 8 more days. They crossed on the 25th day. The 25th day just happens to be the summer solstice. Just a coincidence.
Wow.
It's just exciting to see all of this manifest, and then so something by, July, I'm just telling you, July is going to be that, word that was coined by Kim Clement, strange July, strange July. I believe the dollar will have collapsed, meaning the Federal Reserve note, which is not federal. There's no reserves. It's a money created out of thin air to control and enslave humanity.
We've been watching for that for a long time.
Yeah. So we're so close, and we've said in how many podcasts, right? God only needs what? One day.
One day. That's right.
And look at Pharaoh. Pharaoh went from killing Israel to being killed himself and his whole army in what? One day. So when God intervenes, it takes a day. And so we're so close to these events going down, but these events are going to be, you can only use the one word, biblical. These are biblical events that are about to manifest on this earth. And in its core, and you can also, another scripture that we can use is page 52. Page 52 talks about, the third seal. So we've got the first 2 seals already manifest. We're waiting for the third seal. Well, the third seal of Revelation is the black horse, and the rider has scales in his hands. So last time we saw scales in the Bible was mene, tekel, Afsharsim. You have been weighed in the balances and found wanting. Your kingdom has come to an end and will be given to the Medes and the Persians. That night, King Darius, King Belshazzar died, and King Darius came to power. And it was all that was the writing on the wall. And it happened in how long? 24 hours. The black horse represents the angel of death that is on this earth. The angel of death in the time of Pharaoh passed over Goshen, passed over Israel, and only attacked the firstborn of Egypt. There's going to be mass deaths. It's going to be a sad moment in time. But at some point, God is love, but he's also judge. And we're about to see the judge side, and that's going to correlate with Isaiah 61, the day of vengeance. So something is about to manifest. Page 55. Why would it happen now? Well, it's it's the year of Jubilee. Excuse me. Where land is returned. The year of Jubilee, page 56. It's about abortion. In January of 71, at 50 years, abortion's overturned and it's been law for 50 years and it's no longer law. June 24th is when it was overturned last year. God's 50-year Jubilee cycle began on Rosh Hashanah at 888 days from precisely oil going to zero and 1,260 days from precisely Trump getting elected. Like, it's just perfect math. And then 9 months takes us into this June, and God's Jubilee began in September, and it continues into September of this year. So that's the 50-year Jubilee cycle. So before the 50th year comes to an end in September, we are expected to see the hand of God move on this earth and kill evil.
Yeah, it's so good. Our guest today is Bo Polny, and we're in the moment of suddenlies. We're in the moment of a 24-hour turnaround and pride going before destruction. Bo, this is so exciting. We've been waiting a long time for this, and it's just all coming together at the same time. What does
it really is? It really is.
Yeah, and I know you only have a few minutes left, but what does all of this say about crypto? What does crypto do when all of this starts happening? Or and gold and silver too. Let's talk about all of it.
Right. So go back to the black horse, right, that we just referenced earlier. The black horse specifically talks about, the flipping of the financial scale. So one page higher, page 52.
Oh, there we go.
Right there. So you got the black horse there. So imagine Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies being on one side of the scale, and actually so one side of the scale is Bitcoin, cryptocurrencies, gold, and silver. The other side of the scales is fake money, fiat, the US dollar. So when Christ walked into the temple, he flipped the tables on who? The money changers. So we're about to see the flipping of the financial scales by the hand of God. Let me tell you, when God intervenes on the financial scales, the world is going to know. This is going to be crazy what's about to happen. It's going to be the greatest financial move ever in the history of this world. And so if gold and when God flips the scales, right, silver and gold and cryptos are going to go opposite the dollar. So the dollar is going to crash, and you're going to see a biblical move in Bitcoin and crypto. I'm sorry, in Bitcoin and gold and silver. It's coming. It's about to happen. And the world's never going to forget. At the same time, too, this is going to be very traumatic for a lot of people because banks will close. People that have monies in banks, large amounts of money, little bit of money, whatever it is, many banks are going to close. Bye-bye. Gone.
You're saying that the bank runs are not over. Is that what you're saying?
We haven't started.
Okay.
They haven't started, right? Banks are going to close. People's monies in these banks are going to just go poof, potentially, a lot of these banks. I don't know how this plays out, but a Jubilee specifically means, a debt forgiveness. So the banks that hold the debts are going to be gone. If they're not here, there's no one to collect the debts. Just like on the other side of the Red Sea, there was no one to come after Israel. Get it? There was no one to come after Israel anymore. It was over. So when the Red Sea closes, whatever that event is this time around, there's no one to come after the debts because they're gone. So something crazy is about to go down here. And so it's all I can tell you. And you have a screen right there, Rich Strike, right? It's just interesting. Last year, it's just It's just, the guy's red, his colors are red. If you you change the name from a strike at rich to rich strike, God works, with all they're just symbols. And we're seeing all of these things manifesting all across the earth right now. And God's basically foreshadowing and warning the world what's about to happen. But at the same time, the ones that may have heard our podcasts and think that I'm crazy, think that you're crazy for talking about this stuff, Noah, they're about to, have a moment in their life that they're going to just, what's it called? A come to Jesus moment, right? Because
Mhm.
God has to destroy and take you low to raise you up. So there's many people that have refused to listen to what we talk about, think that, what we talk about is nonsense. And everybody that's the whole problem or the point of this world, right? It's about free will. Everybody has free will to choose.
Mhm.
Everybody's got free will. And so, you've chosen, I've chosen, right? We all, choose this day whom you will serve. And so when I'm looking at the financial scales, all I know in my heart, so all I know is what I'm speaking in my heart is the truth. And that's all I can say. And the truth in my heart is the financial system we know is about to blow up. The US dollar is, the one that's been pinning all of this. And they've been using, the money, the dollar, to enslave, control, to pay off and bribe everybody. The world is all bribes and payoffs. That saying, follow the money. And so when the dollar loses its status as the world reserve currency, everything we know is about to change. Truths are they going to come out because there's no one, the money won't, the bribes won't work anymore, and truths are going to come out. So everything that's captured right now, because evil's in full pride mode, everything that's captured is suddenly like let go. And you have all these exposures of everything. You're going to see the exposures in the churches. You're going to see the lies and the horrible things that were going on in government. You're going to see the lies and the horrible things that are going on in the schools. You're going to see the lies and the horrible things that are going on in the financial institutions. You're going to see the lies and the horrible things going on in Hollywood and in mainstream media. All of this is going to suddenly come out because God needs one day. And then that moment in time, you can't go back like the railroad tracks we talked about. The world gets put onto a new set of railroad tracks. The world as we know it changes, and everything we know starts going in a different direction, the flipping of the scales. So everything's about to change as we know it, starting August onwards, because that's when the new era begins, technically, from a calculation standpoint. But the full exposure is supposed to go down into this end of this month. So what does that mean? I don't know. I'm just showing you the math. So what does it mean for gold and silver? Back to your question, what does it mean for cryptocurrencies, Bitcoin? All I'm saying, look at the chart patterns we've got here. This is from today's private subscriber update. You can take it from here, but this is today's private subscriber update. It ends at June. I blocked off the rest out of courtesy to my subscribers, but this is from our update. And look at it. It predicted the drop last fall. It predicted the FTX crash to the exact day. It then predicted the rise in January. It predicted the rise up then into April, into the top, into point E. And now it's forming this pullback. The price has been pulling back. Oh my gosh, Bitcoin's been going down.
Mhm.
Perfect. Right on pattern, right on cycle. It's exactly what it was supposed to be doing. And those that have been reading my updates know what's coming next. And we know when. And so, I blocked all that up so I can't reveal when this is supposed to potentially blow and take off. All I can say, we're close. Those that want all the details, it's in our, many people don't need it, but those that do want all the details, our Bitcoin Index has all the details. It shows you the exact chart patterns. And this is just one chart. I've shown you several others in there, Noah, that we looked at today. And there's some really exciting charts that we got, in the updates in reference to what's coming.
Yeah, there is, and you all are getting a sneak peek on this because this has actually not been posted to both subscribers yet. It will go out probably about the time this video gets posted online. We'll post this probably later tonight, but you're seeing this for the first time. And then, yeah, we totally understand and respect that, Bo, that you kind of blocked out the part to the right because that's what your subscribers pay for, and everything else you give away for free. This, the one thing that you do, everyone has a job, right? And your job is you do have a subscription service where if people want more of those details, if they want kind of the day-to-day, tell me the day it's going to happen, or tell me what the cycles are saying down to the more nuanced details, you put that all in your newsletter. I get the newsletter. I love it. I know a lot of people that listen to us get it, and the updates are great. And there's one coming out probably tonight, so watch for that. Yeah, it's called a cup and handle. I'm not a chart guy, but I know that the cup and handle is a powerful pattern. And when you got an explosion on the screen there, wins the price explosion. And then what goes up must come down. So we got some real volatility coming, don't we, Bo?
Right, but it's going to be exciting as all heck. But at the same time, too, those that thought silver and gold were stupid, was a rock. Those that thought Bitcoin, this is the best one. Oh, Bitcoin's used for child trafficking. Like you got to like what a joke. Like really? So child trafficking started with Bitcoin like 10 years
Right.
ago. Like really? Child trafficking has been going on for thousands of years. People see, Satan uses the airways to lie to people, and so that's the point. But
Every movie I've ever seen, Bo, all the bad stuff always happens with a bag full of cash.
bingo. Yes, it is. Yes, it does. So that's the point, right? So when God intervenes, the financial tables will flip. That's all I have to say. I've stated this over and over again. God is going to intervene. You're seeing what evil's doing right now. Like what you just started podcast. You're saying that that the FCC is now attacked two big cryptocurrency companies. Why? Because cryptocurrency is a threat. I'm going to repeat that. Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies are a threat to the current financial establishment's money. When the tables flip, they are about to find out who's in charge, and it's not them.
Well, if you'd like to get Bo's newsletter, Bo always says not everybody needs it, but if you're interested and you want more of that detailed information, I know a lot of you get it. If you don't get it, Bo offers he's got a code on here where you can get a discount code if you want to get in and test it out. He's going to give you 50% off. The website is gold2020forecast.com. That's right on the screen. I'll put that link down below this video too. You go there and you type in our code because we always hook you up. So you type in WLT49. It's going to give you 50% off, and that gives you a 14-day trial. The cool thing about that is you can get in there and you get access to everything. You get all the back issues. You get the forward issues, everything that's published in that 14-day trial. You'll get it, and then you can just kind of watch and see. And I think you'll probably like it as much as I do. But there's some really cool stuff in there too about we kind of talk Bitcoin. And Bitcoin is kind of like the Kleenex, of tissues. It's, not every tissue is a Kleenex, but it's just kind of became the word that describes the whole thing. There's a lot of other stuff other than Bitcoin, and Bo has some of the pictures on the screen here. And there's some that I've got a bunch of different cryptos. I kind of like to spread my portfolio around a little bit, but the ones that kind of get me real excited are the ones that are a little bit cheaper. And Bo's got a couple in there, and one that he showed me right before this interview in the new update is one that is like a fraction of a penny. So it's like 0.000. And I don't know what it's at exactly, but you can buy a bunch of those. And, if they start moving, I just think that's cool. Bitcoin's great too. He's even got XRP up on the screen. I know there's big XRP army that loves listening to Bo. And boy, that's another thing that's just all hitting at the same time. Most people believe the XRP lawsuit with the SEC will be over in June. There's a lot of rumors out there about that. So just funny how that is all hitting at the same time. But that's in there. Bo covers XRP. He covers Ethereum and a bunch of other ones that are on the screen, and even a few that I don't think he has the logos in there that are also in his report. So if you want to get that, you can get it. If you don't want to get it, you don't have to. Bo, I think I'll borrow one of your quotes. But I heard you say once in one of our interviews, you said someone was asking, I took some questions from people, and someone said, well, what should we really do to prepare? And your quote was, have some spare food on hand, have some spare water, and get yourself some Bitcoin and some gold and silver. And what's the worst case that happens? One, you're prepared if something really bad happens. And if nothing bad happens, you got some extra food and you got some gold. Not a bad position to be in. So I like that quote. That's kind of some good wisdom on just how to preparing just makes sense. And
I would say this. If the first thing is something big's about to happen and it's going to look scary. I don't know what it is. I'm telling you, Jesus died on the cross. You got to admit that was a very scary moment in the world. Okay. So something, the Red Sea, before it opened up, Pharaoh's coming to Israel to kill them all. Okay. So something's going to happen. It's going to look very scary. So this is the most important thing. How do you prepare? Know that Jesus Christ is in complete control. God the Father, the Son, Jesus Christ, and the Holy Spirit are in control. You have to know that in your heart because that takes away all fear. If you know that God's got this, there's nothing to fear. So you have to be grounded in that. Number one, it's so important. Number two is make sure you do have some extra water. So if should something happen, which I'm telling you something's going to, but should something happen, you've got food and water, you're not going anywhere. You got stuff in the house, you're good. You don't need to run to the stores because they might not even be open. Okay. And then number three is, I don't want to give financial advice, but I'm telling you, I personally, and I know Noah as well too, I hold precious metals and I hold cryptocurrencies. Why? Because I know the financial scales in my heart are going to flip, period. And so if you think what we talk about makes sense, maybe you should be, doing what we're doing. But it's again, finances are a personal choice, period. But if you want the details on the cryptocurrencies, we provide, I have them, we do it in our Bitcoin index, but not everybody needs it. On the other side of the coin, this whole PDF is 120 pages for free. Why? Because I want you to know what's coming, and I want you to know how amazing our God is, and how amazing our God is to put all this together. And I just basically try and put the pieces together to show you how amazing the math is behind what our God does. And I'm also laying scriptures to show you that.
No, that's great.
So in my heart, I know all of this is coming. I've shown you the math and the scriptures that put it all together. But ultimately, free will. Choose this day whom you will serve. What money system are you going to serve? What God are you going to serve? Do you believe any of this or all of this? It's all free will. But let me finish on this point. God's got this. He is in complete control.
No, that's great, Bo. Well, we've got about 2 minutes left, and let me just get to your last slide here. I do want to mention this because I always get a lot of emails from people saying how much they appreciate this. So if you're a bit overwhelmed, and if you don't understand crypto, you don't understand Bitcoin, if it's intimidating to you, you need to see this screen, slide 120. It's the website is easycryptoschool.com, and it's just like the name sounds. Bo put this together for people who maybe you're not real tech savvy, maybe you just don't get it, and you don't want to make mistakes, and you don't want to lose money. This will tell you how to do it, because there is a big learning curve here, and it's not necessarily easy if you don't know what you're doing. So I love the Easy Crypto School, and I know it's helped so many people. If you want that, go to easycryptoschool.com. And again, you've dropped the code in there. Bo's going to give it to you for half off. Those codes, by the way, they do expire. So if you're interested in either one of these, go ahead and grab that, because they will expire. And then I get emails from people all the time. Hey, can Bo turn that back on? And no, they're only open for a limited time. So grab that if you want it. And I love talking about that because, Bo likes to just get on here and talk and give stuff away for free, but I know this helps a lot of people. So if you're interested in either of those services, those are the services Bo does when he's not chatting with us. He's putting that stuff together and helping people that way. So Bo, let me shut this off, and I'm going to stop sharing my screen. I want to bring you back to full screen. There you go. And I think you had a good summary just a minute ago, but leave us with one lasting thought. It's June 6th, big steps coming. What do you want to leave us with tonight before we go?
Into the end of the month is less than 30 days. What is it, maybe 25 days into the end of the month. And then the 25th, we don't know the exact day this is going to go down. It could happen a few days before, a few days after, because childbirth, we have expected delivery date, but the date could be early. The delivery could be early. It could be a little late. We don't know. All I'm saying is that something's about to go down. It's probably going to correlate with some type of short-lived war, military conflict, potentially, because this is an attack on the US dollar. So I'm telling you, something is, this is going to be a clash of the Titans moment. Potentially. And secondly, God's going to intervene. So this is going to be potentially scary. But at the same time, when everything goes dark, you have one job, is to fall to your knees and is to thank God for saving America. And I say America because once America fell, notice what happened to the rest of the world. When America falls and then is reborn suddenly here, the rest of the world will follow. So we are in a historically biblical, awesome time point in our world. This point, is going to go down in history, and it's going to be so exciting, scary at first, but exciting. But ultimately, worldwide celebrations are so close. I believe this July is going to be fantastic with regard to changes. So God bless everybody, and Noah, thank you for having me here.
Thank you, Bo. We can't wait to see what happens, and we'll have you back on to talk about it.
God bless.